Alright guys, it is finally here, the big update for Diablo 4, and hopefully this will save the game in its current state. So let's go ahead and check out the brand new patch notes. Keep in mind, these patch notes came out today, however, this patch does not actually go through until August 8th. So let's get started. So we've made quite a few balance adjustments to classes. Our goal with this patch are as follows. So we want to improve the effectiveness of sorcerers and barbarians while addressing the following for each class. So they want to improve the survivability and mostly through Paragon board improvements. They adjusted some class mechanics to move away from Kiss Curse effects. This is where the player gains power but loses power somewhere else. Okay, so with Barbarian, they're speeding up the flow of combat in the early game by increasing Fury generation on basic skills, and add late game excitement by increasing the power of unique items. Okay, so this is supposed to be fixing some of the uniques in the game, and this is what I'm most excited about, but I hope they actually hit this hard because there's so many uniques in this game that are absolutely just terrible. So starting right off, next up they have strengthen builds that aren't reaching a high power level, and then diversify the cases for legendary items and other effects that are overtly situational. So there's going to be ones for each classes, but I want to go over like the everyone, and then we'll go into like each class as long as this video doesn't end up being like too long. Otherwise we'll make separate videos on each one, but I don't know what these patch notes completely are, so we're doing this as kind of a reaction as well. So starting right off, they're going to be increasing the monster density in all the Nightmare dungeons and in Helltide, so it's going to be really nice. So bosses above level 60 will have more health, so bosses at level 60 and below remain unchanged. So basically this is kind of like in the world tier 3 and 4-ish areas. We have increased health, increased health, increased health. And now this is, you know, normally people would see this and be like, oh, this makes the game way harder. They are actually giving us some rewards, so the monsters should be dropping legendaries at the very end when you actually kill them, as far as the bosses go. So we actually get quite a big more explosion of loot at the very end. So bosses and events. So level 35 and higher bosses will now have 100% chance to drop a legendary item. Hoping that this also would, in theory, kind of increase the uniques as well. I don't know if it rolls like, if it happens to be legendary, there's a chance for it to be, you know, a unique or let's say primal if you're playing Diablo 3. Just a higher chance of any base drop could increase the chances of other things perhaps, so it's not noted here, but in theory it may do that as well. Treasure Goblins have an increased legendary drop chance from level 6 and 14 and guarantee a legendary item at 15. I think it's just guaranteed at that point, whatever. But nonetheless, it's nice change, but you can get to level 15 quite fast, so it doesn't really matter too much. And then Legion events are now more rewarding and guarantee a legendary drop starting at level 35. This is a nice little buff, as a lot of times I've been skipping the world bosses and some of these events, so hopefully we get a world boss buff as well for the drops. I'm thinking maybe just like a unique or some reason to do them. Okay, so in general, they have made multiple improvements on damage and how their effects interact with active barriers. So bonus damage for effects that are applied on hit or when dealing damage will now apply that same stat through barriers. So it says EX, the exploit Paragon glyph will now apply vulnerable to enemies that have an active barrier. Oh, I was actually unaware that this made it so that wouldn't apply, but that would be technically and make it a little bit easier for us. And then cheat death effects will now work properly when the player has an active barrier. I didn't even know that actually changed, so this affects PvP play as well. Farshan will now break through any bone wall segments he dashes through. I didn't even know this was a thing, so I guess you can lock him down in bone wall. And then the cost for refunding skill and Paragon points has been reduced. The reduction starts smaller at lower levels and hits a maximum of 40% at level 100. So basically, it's going to be nicer. And then we've increased the stack limit for elixirs from 20 to 99. So it's going to be a little bit better for storage. We've added a stash tab that now can be purchased at the stash window. So we have one. It says an additional one. And if you guys are wondering, we probably will get more hopefully later. It's just going to be through time, or maybe they'll sell it in the shop. Because, you know, would you guys be really upset if they started selling some stash tabs in the shop? Honestly, if it's just a couple bucks, I don't really mind. But if it's like $20 for one, then that could be kind of expensive. I think at maximum maybe $5 would be like a reasonable price. But if you guys want to chime in on that, how much is an okay price point? I think a couple dollars, anything under $5 is kind of nice, but nonetheless, it'd be better if you just unlock with gold, but realistically, this could cause more server stress because they have to store some of this data somewhere, right? So at the end of the day, I think people are a little bit more lenient on that. if it was just like $1 or $2. Anyways, the following Nightmare Dungeon affix have been removed. So there's no more Resource Burn, there's no more Backstabbers, and there's no more Cold Enchanted. This is a massive buff for any build that wasn't perma unstoppable. So I like this specifically on Sorcerers and Rogue. That was kind of the two classes where I felt like you kind of needed it. As Necromancer, well, you have the Infinimus build. And on top of that, you also have the builds where you're just playing Bone Spear. You're super far away. You're not going to get stunned, frozen, knocked down, you know, lots of different effects, right? Anyways, Malignant Hearts. Okay, this is the big thing. Are they nerfing Barber? So Cage Heart of Spellbreaking changed to, upon taking elemental damage, you gain damage reduction for 5 seconds instead of, I think, via the element. So this is a nice change. Now, this is going to be the biggest change and one that I'm most excited about. Temerity, instead of all stats, you get maximum life. Barrier is now based on maximum life. It basically gets, I want to say, more than double of the stats. This is great. This is massive. It's just going to make these pants probably best in slot for a lot of builds. And it says now properly accounted by conditions for checking the player having a barrier. So I was unaware of this, but a lot of other things it would grant you barrier. There's also a few things with Rogue where it can grant you barrier. I think Barbarian can gain barrier as well. But there's a lot of things in the game where it may not have counted you as actually having barrier, which it's just like a bug with certain things. And so now, hopefully, that also applies to, again, Rogue, Barbarian, any of the things that would work with barrier. If not, hopefully they can fix all of the other ones. So bug fixes, the screen reader support for reading class icons has been added. Fix an issue with the screen reader, it wouldn't read out capitalized. Okay, this is like, doesn't really matter. I'm just going to skip out over like the bugs unless there's something that's really important. I'm guessing it's just fixing an issue where certain things would spawn behind, or things would be through the wall, or there's like an enemy that could not be killed. I'm just going to skip over these like bug fixes unless there's something very important. I'm going to really quickly skim them. Fix an issue with our Nemesis carriers were killed before the Nemesis objective was triggered that would not drop it. So you could actually block your dungeon progression. Okay, so again, these are overall nice changes, but it's basically you can complete the dungeon. There's not going to be a glitch where there's like one enemy left that you have to kill that's like invisible, or it spawns off the map, falls through the map, whatever the case may be. I know that there is an issue with the teleport on the Oculus unique. I don't know if this is in here, but that's another issue that probably should be fixed. Anyways, gameplay, Barbarian. Fix an issue where charge didn't carry enemies when they would go along. Fix an issue where the legend strike could cause a player character to get stuck underground. This is another thing with Oculus. Hopefully they fix that one. Fix an issue where the bonus crit strike chance granted by the focus rage malignant power could be consumed by non-combatant skills. I think this is a pretty big buff for Barbarian. I remember there was one Malignant Heart where like if you activate your potion, it would actually cancel your crit. It's really, really bad. And then there's the aspect of Berserk Ripping. Oh, again, it wouldn't cause targets to bleed when berserking. Okay, so that's going to be technically a buff to Barbarian, even though these are bug fixes. The tooltip now communicates that the power's additional lucky hit chance of spawning a wolf when it damages bosses. And the tooltip now properly communicates that it grants +3 ranks to wolves, okay? So it fixed an issue where Call of the Wild and Aspect and the Stampede were not properly affecting the passive portions of the companion skills and the active portion of wolves. For Necromancer, they fixed the issue that caused more blood orbs than intended to be active at the same time. Oh, so this is actually nerfed to anyone that was doing the Lilith that spawned just massive amount of blood orbs. Yeah, you can't do that anymore. So that is a nerf to them. I don't know. They said it's an issue. I didn't know that the game had a cap, but now it's capped at 30. The fiction issue where guaranteed overpower attacks from Rathma's Vigor key passive were not benefiting from the Paragon and Node Bloodbath. So that's kind of a buff, I would say. Because it says that we're not benefiting, so now it should benefit it, so that would be a buff. Fix an issue where the automatic corpse explosion cast from the Sacrilege Malignant Power could ignore the damage reducing effect from the power when using an unenhanced corpse explosion, so I guess that's kind of a nerf, right? Fix an issue where the untimely death aspect only increased overpowered damage on the blood lance that was cast and not other lance targets. A fiction issue where the decrepit aura malignant power was equipped twice. The power with the lowest number of near enemies required to activate was not the one that would trigger. Okay, so how it works, and I'm pretty sure that it still works where you can equip multiple. It doesn't stack, it just takes the higher number, but I guess this was taking the lower one. It's not a really big deal. Most people would not run 2 of the same Malignant Heart anyways. But they also fixed an issue where shields held by Necromancer would cover their face in the loading screens. Okay, I'll fix an issue where the Necromancer's imperfectly balanced passive could only have 1 point allocated to it. Okay. Fix an issue where the decrepit or malignant power wouldn't trigger when mounted. Oh, I didn't even know that you can have your abilities activate when mounted, but okay. Rogue, they fixed an issue where the poison trap could be infinitely cast without spending energy by using the concealment skill near a zone that transitions areas. They also fixed an issue where the Shadow Clone's taunt effect from the Trickery Malignant Power could taunt other players in PvP, and the taunt was not breakable. But okay, this thing, I'm kind of upset. I never got to try this out, but that sounds pretty broken. And then with the Sorcerer, they fixed an issue where the Elemental Dominance passive didn't function correctly when using a core and mastery skill that dealt damage over time. EX Meteorite cast at above 50 mana would take you under 50 mana and would not get the full damage bonus. Oh, okay, so that means that it only registers at the mana casted at the time, not after the cast activates, if that makes sense. So basically, it's good. It's a buff. Fixed an issue where the Omnipower Malignant Power wouldn't properly consume additional mana, which would then not trigger other interactions with additional resource consumption. Okay, it's fine. Everyone only really cares about the Barber anyways, and I'm really excited to see if they don't nerf that. EX did a damage reduction from the Mana Shield passive. Fixed an issue where the Omnipower, was inconsistently launching the appropriate number of projectiles. In addition, the tool type has been updated to better describe the power. Okay, so they fixed an issue where the effects of Dark Dance, Malignant Power would reset the Align the Elements. They also fixed an issue with the random teleport location of the Oculus could cause players to get stuck in the environment. Okay, that is the change that I wanted, because legitimately I was super excited to get my hands on the Oculus to mess around with it, but then I saw videos of people just getting stuck, and yeah, it was no fun. Alright, so now that has been changed, it's going to be nice. So in general, they fixed an issue with the speed increase for the Spur skill. Mountain was slower on control. Oh, so this is a buff to controller, how it worked before with mouse and keyboard. You were simply just faster if you moved your mouse further away from the horse's direction. They also fixed an issue where the invasion portals spawned during certain hell tides could be pushed off screen with fear effects. Fixed an issue where the Paragon or rare nodes would sometimes not provide bonuses with stat boosting gear. That's a pretty big one to not have fixed, but at least it's fixed now. Fixed an issue where continuously enchanting an item could result in having the same stat show repeatedly. Oh, this is massive, because I remember there was a strategy where even if you didn't want the roll, if you keep on seeing the same one, you might as well pick something, otherwise you keep on getting the same roll. And it was theory crafted that basically you want to pick something, even though it would cost more if you did pick something rather than doing no change. There's a lot of weird things in this game that honestly it feels like it should have been phased out in beta, but nonetheless, at least this is actually very, very nice. So it's basically, I would say in theory, easier as long as you don't want the same stat. Although that could mean if it already has, let's say, crit on your ring and you really want to get a higher roll of crit, well, maybe now it's going to be harder. So again, if you're rerolling to get like the same stat but higher, it's a nerf, but overall I think this is a better change though. They fixed an issue where post-death damaging effects ignored the damage reduction from the stats of closer or distant enemies. Fixed an issue where mounting your steed while moving would behave erratically when playing on console. So monsters, they fixed an issue with the teleporter. Fixed an issue where the tusk charger enemies could still damage the player after dying. That's a really weird one. Fixed an issue where the corpse spawn enemy wouldn't attack the player. They fixed an issue where the Majub monster was more difficult to defeat than intended. Okay, so quests, I'm guessing they fixed a bunch of issues with the quest not being able to be completed. Okay, that's just kind of there. Oh, hold on. I see something highlighted. I hit Control F and I typed in Barber. Is it nerfed? Season of the Malignant. Okay. So they fixed an issue where the Prudent Heart Malignant Power would not trigger while mounted. They fixed an issue where the Dark Dance Malignant Power could behave as if the player was damaging themselves, which could apply other effects that occur when the player deals damage. Oh, so this could be a nerf maybe? They fixed an issue where the Invoker of Varshan recipe could be lost. Okay, this is actually a really good change because some people brick their character apparently, where if you didn't pick up the recipe, it was just gone. They fixed an issue where the Barber Malignant Power would absorb damage from all players and not just the player. So this is actually a buff to the Barber, and the reason why is in your party you would screw over your other teammates because on crit or on a certain X or on overpower or on any of these conditions, because you're not hitting the enemy, it's getting absorbed. It would make it so the Barber would just stack up the damage, but like you wouldn't get any of your lucky hit on X condition. So this is actually a buff to the Barber. This is good. So they also fixed an issue with the Urn of Bargaining. Season Blessing was increasing the enchant. Okay, so this is awesome. They fixed it. They also fixed an issue with the Dark Dance Malignant Heart could kill the player. It would no longer consume life if the player does not have enough life to play. Oh, I didn't even know that you could do this. This was actually kind of a nerf in a sense because you would still want to activate. I remember people were talking about doing low life with something with this, and it actually seemed like it could have been pretty cool. But now, I guess you can't just like keep on consuming your life. Anyways, Battle Pass. What they fixed an issue where the Dagger Tap Rogue from the Battle Pass would lock the player. Okay, so these are just battle pass, whatever. The UI, oh dang, look how many UI changes. This is actually a pretty massive amount of stuff to go over. I wanted to go over like the class things. If there's anything important, I'm going to mention this. Like, if there's just, like, this is so vague, fixed localization issues. But if it's, like, the user interface, I can't really think of anything other than I want the gems to be, like, absorbed. But that's not happening until Season 2. Like, a hero list could not be reordered. Oh, I actually was wondering that, because I actually did see that. That's going to be nice, but it's not really that big of an issue. Fix an issue where the die emote from the battle pass displays. Like, these are so small. Again, I don't feel like it's necessary to go over it. Then they're miscellaneous. To fix an issue where the reigns the bloody steed would reappear in the stable master's menu. Fix an issue where opening the clan profile would cause a crash. Fix an issue where audio from Corman could be heard even if the player was far away from him. Okay, so these are just like small little issues. That to fix an issue where the steed was not rewarded after defeating Echo. Okay, so these are just small. It's just various. Okay, I would prefer if it was more restricted, but these are small things. The main meat of this, I guess, we did not have a nerfed Barber. This is in fact a buff to Barber in like a weird way. It just makes it so if you're in a party with someone who has Barber, it's not super annoying. Because I know sometimes when people were playing in parties, they're like, okay, everyone unequip Barber because it makes it annoying. I understand. For certain abilities sort of require a crit unlucky hit, yeah, it just wouldn't work. Okay, so the reason why you guys probably clicked this video was probably for the class changes. Now, they did kind of mention some of them, but let's go in depth. So as far as Barb goes, all of the all of these just got increased Fury. So this is going to be helping out Barb for the early game. And they've already buffed these from like, they went from like 10 to 11 in the most recent past. Like most of these got buffed by like 1 already. So all of these nice little changes over here, just more Fury. It's going to be nice. Double swing, rupture. What? That's a massive. That's like basically doubled the enhanced rupture over here. And then charge also get a massive change. I don't know if it's going to be good with one of those new uniques. The vulnerable duration, violent upheaval. So if it damages 2 enemies, you gain Berserk for 2 seconds, increased to 3. And if it damages enemies at least 4, or if it at least damages 4 enemies. Small little changes. It's not going to make Barb like insanely powerful, at least just off of reading. Although there might be something with rupture to check out. I mean, that's a 45 to 70% is a huge amount. And then double swing was already like an okay option. Next up, though, we have aggressive resistance. So this is a passive, so you get another 1% damage reduction, another 15 here, and then bleed damage with overpowering got massively buffed. That is huge. That's like 59% increase. So they also unconstrained, they gave extra damage on that, and then walking arsenal, the duration got increased. Okay, there was a cool build that I wanted to try out with this, so it's a nice thing to have buff because then now you don't have to rotate in between everything as frequently. But I still think people are just going to be running like on Barb. If you look at any Barb build, it is literally every single person playing Unbridled Rage. But they are buffing the other things. They're buffing on Walking Arsenal. This got buffed. I mean, everything got buffed except for this because it's by far the best. And I don't know if people will be willing to swap off of this. However, this is a pretty massive change. I'm not sure how frequent you can overpower consistently on Barb. There may be someone out there who's going to try it. But it's not like people look for, overpower damage on, pieces of gear, right? Legendary. So, Ancestral Force, so that got increased by a little bit. Thorns got increased, so core skill cost a refund over here from 10-20, so another 10% buff over there. Cost refund also granted when hitting bosses. Oh, okay, I didn't know that didn't work with bosses, so that's another buff. The Ancestral Charge, so you get some extra damage. Burning Rage got also increased by a little bit. Bulkathos, damage reduction while in Earthquakes, that got increased by 10%. Damage bonus, so this, okay, there's 2 buffs to Earthquake Barb. It was actually kind of cool. There's another thing where you could, like, have something, if you kicked into an enemy and it, like, exploded, it would do massive damage. That was kind of another interesting thing to play. So, the uniques, this is what I was mostly interested in just general. Let's see if the Barb uniques are going to be fixed now. So, the damage got increased from 0.18, 3-4 to, this is a small, but remember, this is like, it's counting like a huge amount of numbers. So damage that enemies take standing in pools increased, so another 5% here. Rupture cooldown affix replaced with bonus critical strike damage. Oh, that is very, very interesting. Now, really quickly over here, I wanted to also go over the uniques. So I'm gonna go to like Diablo 4 uniques, and let's go to max roll. Okay. And let's pop these up so we can actually see what the differences are. So originally, reps are over here. Let's see what they said. So let me pop up that on the screen so you guys can have a visual effect of what the changes are. So on the Barbarian here, we have, where is it? It's the Fields of Crimson. So they're changing the rupture cooldown, which I think it could go up to like 19 or 20%. And that is changing with bonus crit strike damage. Now, is that going to make it good? Damage with two-handed, damage over time. I guess that kind of works with it, getting extra ranks, and losing the rupture cooldown might be kind of bad, though, right? You get bonus crit strike damage, but then you're still missing vulnerable damage. So I'm not actually sure. Let me know, guys, what you think of that. I mean, I tried it out when it was terrible, and I don't think that this small, like at the highest end from 0.34 to go into 0.38 is going to make a massive huge amount of damage, but increased crit is always going to be good. But again, you're still missing out on vulnerable, which is a better multiplier. So I don't know if people are going to be running this. So personally for me, my impressions of this is pretty bad still. Hellhammer, this got increased from the highest end from 0.8 to, what is this, 1.1. The burning duration increase, so that is actually probably a massive buff over here with Hellhammer because it's going to be ticking, right? Oh wait, are they just changing it to over 4 seconds? Oh, okay, so this is actually really weird, because how damage over time works, if it's over 4 seconds, that's actually less damage. Even though they increase this damage, it would be, in theory, the same amount of ticks, but it is ticking longer, so therefore it could be more, but it's a lower tick because it's over a longer duration. So hopefully this is making sense. If you've ever played Diablo 2, it's kind of like how poison damage works. Yeah, it hits for like 100 poison damage, I think, with a perfect emerald, but the thing is that it takes so long to activate, it doesn't really feel like it's a massive buff if it's going to take longer. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, damage to crowd control enemies replaced with bonus crit strike damage. Okay, that could be another okay change, but again, for me reading this, I could tell you, as someone that's played Diablo for a really long time, both of these are not going to be making these like uber good, but I'm curious to know. Maybe I hope I'm wrong on this, and if I'm wrong, someone please let me know, because I've been disappointed with the uniques for a while, and I've been trying to really get these fixed, because as a Diablo partner, I reached out, and they are going to be working on some more, and I don't know if this is what they mentioned, that they're like, this is like their final, because I've been making so much content on uniques. And it's random melodies, Magnum Opus, physical damage affects replaced with vulnerable. That's it? Oh my gosh. Okay, so the reason why this thing is so terrible, one, it's dual wield, it's close, it's physical, and then you have resource. You want crit, you want vulnerable, you want core, and then you want main stat. So it has none of those. However, now they've changed physical with vulnerable damage. So they've replaced 1 out of the 4 stats that actually makes this good. Now, it does have this cool effect, but it says skills using this weapon. At the moment, the best way to play Barbarian is Hoda Barbarian and Whirlwind Barbarian. And because it's skills that use this weapon, and because Whirlwind does not scale with faster attack weapons, you want the slowest attacking one, with the exception of, there is time where you can get more attacks because you're using your like basic skill, and every X amount of basic skill increases your next core skill. So getting attack speed can kind of help out. But for the most part, you're not going to be using your 2 one-handed weapons to activate most of your abilities with Hoda or Whirlwind, because you want the slowest hard-hitting one, because it's going to still do the same amount. Now, this has to be hits with this weapon. So it does make it so you get increased damage per point of fury, but you start draining your fury, which is a cool idea, but this does not help this. This, making this number, if they like made this number like 3 or 4 times the amount, like it would deal like 1, instead of 0.3 to be 1% per fury, then we're looking at something where, yeah, it has potential, because remember, all 4 of those stats were pretty bad. Now, 1 of the 4 stats is actually okay because it got moved. So I just feel like, okay, I'm not trying to be mean, that they have no idea in terms of testing or min-maxing. We need the content creators to really help out with the uniques at the end of the day. These a lot, again, via face value, and I hope I'm wrong with this, these are not going to make these super cool. They could have made it so it drained resource 2 or 3 times faster, but make it do an insane amount of damage, so you can then make a build where you just gain all of your energy and you expend it in one like big hit, and you kind of have like this cool kind of like weird niche build. That's what a unique should do, not just like, oh well, it's still worthless. They changed 1 out of the 4 bad stats. And then and again, it's because it's a one-handed. It's just backwards on what it should be. Anyways, let's finish this off, because we still have so many classes to go over. So 100,000 steps, attacks, evades cooldown affects replaced with bonus evade charges. Okay. Damage against stun affects replaced with bonus movements. Okay. I mean, honestly, this is okay. I don't know if we're going to be running like the walking arsenal one. Anyways, battle trance basic skill, damage affects replaced with cooldown reduction, and then bonus attack speed to other skills increased. Okay, so this one over here, what is battle trance? What? Okay, so this is the amulet for frenzy. So they're changing it. Oh, so you just get cooldown reduction. But wait, what? Hold on. They changed the basic skill damage. Isn't that the point of this? Is to use your basic skills because it's all about frenzy. This is they should have just buffed the basic attacks to like quadruple because that's the point of the build. Cooldown on a basic skill. It's like I just don't get why the uniques are designed this way. Like I genuinely want like the uniques to work properly. This is for a basic attack, not you don't. This is the area where you don't really need the cooldown reduction, even though cooldown reduction is great on all the characters. You're taking away one of the stats. If you just added flat cooldown reduction, that'd be awesome. But you're taking away this item that is supposed to scale with your basic skill damage. Like that's so backwards. It's crazy, but. The bonus attack speed did get increased with the other skills, but the whole point of this was to have those extra rings of frenzy, so you're using your frenzy. Again, I'm just kind of at loss for words with how these uniques are designed, and I hope this is not how they plan to fix them, because these all, in my personal opinion, still need to be kind of fixed. Next up, as far as rogue goes, energy threshold, so you gain... So this is trying to make invigorating, but honestly, puncture is still going to be the best one. Now we're moving on to rogue. All right, so a primary forceful throw. Every third cast pierces. Damage bonus increased by caltrops. Okay, I'll tell you the problem with caltrop. This is like the 6th time I want to say caltrop has been buffed. The reason why caltrops is not good is because the casting animation is so slow where you're jumping back to the point where like it's not even worth it. Just use another attack skill. Just use twisting blades again. You'll get way more damage. The bonus takes it takes time to stack up, but that's the main reason why people don't want to use it. Poison trap, getting small increase in damage. Okay, that's cool. Poison trap is like a usable skill. Supreme rain of arrows. Rain of arrows, first wave knockdown the enemies for 3 seconds, so you can apply the bonus damage knockdown. Okay, it's still pretty bad. Most people will just either play trap or you can use the shadow clones. Okay, victimize, lucky hit chance increase. Rugged, the damage reduction gets damage over time, so more people may get that. I know poison in general in this game can be pretty nasty until they fix resistances, siphoning strikes. Okay, so they followed through with it. I think this just needs to be removed. There's no lucky hit, just make it on crit. Everyone's been complaining about it. That's a huge survivability nerf. Although with temerity, this could be pretty insane, but lucky hit on crit would still not work with Barber. Because of the way, unless that other thing fixes it, which was mentioning before of like other people, I still think it just needs to just work on just crit. No lucky hit. Just make it on crit like it used to be, and you can lower the value. But to having this to be on lucky hit on crit, it basically got a 90% nerf. It's like an incredible nerf when they first changed this to lucky hit chance. So not only do you have to crit, by the way, if you guys are wondering why I'm complaining so much about this, it is a huge part of rogue survivability to be able to tank stuff because you would actually be able to regen. And now this is making it so instead of it just making it on crit, I actually should go over this because my channel is mainly focused in on rogue, and this is one of the most important things because people are complaining about it and people asked my thoughts on it, and I said it's just dropping it. Most people dropped it. So how it used to work is on crit you would heal for 1% of your life, and average you can get about 50-ish% crit on rogue towards the end of the game, right? So you had a 50% chance to heal. Now you have to have 50% chance on top of a 33% chance, and if you use any like permutations or like not permutations, what is it? Probability calculator of like a 2 consecutive things working at percentages, yeah, you're 33% on a 75, it's a 33% on top of a 85, so it's 85% on a 33 on a 50, so it's basically 3 different things that I need to roll in. Is bad. Let's just put it that way. Maybe we could dedicate a video for the math, but basically it's bad. It just needs to be removed. Anyways, aspect of elusive menace no longer require hits to be from close enemies. That's kind of a nice change, actually. That could be really good for PvP. Anyways, aspect of quickening fog. You automatically drop a smoke grenade. Cooldown by 4 to 6 per target, up to 2 to 3 seconds. So, smoke grenade reduces dodge cooldown. Is this better, or I actually don't know. I didn't run that one. Anyways, unique wind force. All stats replaced with vulnerable. Okay, you want to know why wind force is so bad? Here, I'll fix this item real easy. So how it works is you have a lucky hit chance with this weapon. So on the highest one, which is 50%, on the highest roll, basically think of this in your head. If you have no bonus to lucky hit, you have a 10% chance to do double damage. So you could think of it kind of like a 10x damage, right? 10x damage on a two-handed is still bad. You still have damage to distant enemies, which is inferior to crossbows. All stats got moved over to vulnerable damage. So all stats is actually pretty good. We have core skill, so we have 2 good stats. But then you still have distant enemies rolling twice, and then Pentious passive, what was it? I think it goes to +2. Let's go type that in because we want to look this up in pet. And this one is over here. So after moving, you do more damage. Most people don't go ahead and actually get this thing. So I would say that's like a very meh kind of a stat. So at the end of the day, the stats are pretty decent. But again, damage to distance is still bad. And then you get a 10x multiplier versus you're losing out on your penetrating shot, you know, splitting or whatever that you normally would put in your two-handed slot, which is way better. The problem with this is it should just be automatically knocking back, just 100% chance to knock back, and the double damage could be having a chance to, you know, maybe activate, because when you knock back a target, you have the bonus damage. So I think overall, it still doesn't fix the weapon. People will still probably run a crossbow overall, because again, you get much better stats. I think what they needed to move is the Impetuous could be just a massive, like, you know, 400 to dexterity. Make it exciting. It's win force. Just give it 100% chance to knock back. You know, but it can't knock back the same target every, you know, it has a cooldown on knocking the same target back, so you can't infinitely push, you know, bosses or whatever back. I think it'd be really cool, just 100% chance to knock back, make it OG in terms of like what the wind force does. It pushes things, right? It's like a wind comes out. So that's still really bad. All right, and then the World of Con, they actually followed through with this, so the ultimate damage got changed with cooldown reduction, which is still really bad. So we have non-physical damage, which, I mean, rogues most of the time they're going to hit for physical unless you run the apothecary, like the new thing, but everyone's running barber, so this doesn't really matter too much. And then we have crit strike damage with imbued skills, and then we have plus ranks to imbuement. So you're still losing out on massive stats, and it's still garbage. And again, this is kind of what I've been frustrated with the whole unique systems in the game. The uniques are still bad. So we have guaranteed cooldown reduction, which that's a good stat. On rogue, you want cooldown reduction, you want reduced resource costs, movement speed is also good, and, you know, damage reduction from close enemies from most people because they're playing Twisting Blades. This is still overall pretty bad, and you're also losing out on the 50% bonus that you get when you're crafting some sort of power on your amulet, which is pretty massive. So this whole Rain of Arrows is imbued with it. Maybe if it said Rain of Arrows would reset on every single elite kill, then we can have like a cool thing where like you're just like Rain of Arrows, every single elite pack, Rain of Arrows, and you just knock them all down. It'd be kind of cool. But at the end of the day, it's still bad. They still have not fixed the uniques. They need. What's weird is they're redoing the uniques, but I still feel like they are far underwhelming. Please, guys, let me know how you feel about this, because, again, I'm looking at these and, like, these do not fix the uniques at all. Anyways, next up, let's go over Druid. So, more resource over here. Passive for, like, the wolves got increased. Oh, there's a lot of wolves. There's another thing that gives you, like, +3 ranks of wolves. So, maybe pets will be a little bit better. I don't know if it's going to make it, like, broken levels of good, but maybe for the progression early game, you can level up as a you know, pet Druid. Rabies got a pretty decent damage over time increase. I mean, that's 25. That's like several gems. Paragon, the maximum life bonus got increased, and 2% over there. The aspect of the metamorphic stone, so the spirit cost got reduced. The damage dealt got increased by 20%. Another the boost of 15. Resource gain increased from 1 to 3. Okay, maybe this could be something to look at for a resource. And the overload lucky hit chance got doubled. Okay. Next up, Sorcerer. Wow, Sorcerer's hopefully got a massive change. I hope Chain Lightning is good. All right, so what are we looking at with these Sorcerers? So it generates 2 mana, and it used to be, I believe, this had to be a burning enemy or ignited enemy, or they had some condition. Okay, so it just generates 2 when you hit anything. Okay, so if you just get a massive amount of attack speed, you're just going to be gaining mana. So Enhanced Fireball, casting Fireball increases its radius by 50% versus it like taking time. So that's going to be a nice buff, especially with the new bouncing fireballs, which is something that I've been talking about. You know, I thought Fireball was something that had some potential. Anyways, Fireball's crit strike damage is increased by 20%. The bonus is increased by 30% if it hits at least 3 enemies. Greater Chain Lightning, so each time it bounces, it used to require you to bounce between like you and the target. And then Destructive Chain Lightning, transform cracking energy. Okay, so in terms of the passive, so more damage with fears. Issues ferocity, additional functionality. So both bonuses are granted for 3 seconds when hitting a boss or with a critical strike. Combustion, your burning effects deal 20x increased damage plus an additional 2% increased damage per unique source of burning you have applied to the target. And then as far as the Paragon, we have increased crit from Fireball and Meteor, increases your crit strike chance by 5% and up to 15, but you can get pretty much perfect crit on Sorcerers really easy anyways. And then we have Ceaseless Conduit, which increases the crackling energy's damage per point of intelligence. I've always liked this idea of making attribute stacking, so this is kind of cool. Someone let me know if this is has any potential of becoming good, because I really like the idea of like a deck stacker, in stacker. I play Path of Exile, I think it's cool. Or even like Torchlight actually led you to do stacking as well. Anyways, next up, Territorial Glyph. The damage reduction got increased from 10 to 15. The Warding Rare Glyph, the damage reduction got increased. The Keeper of Flames Rare Node, the damage reduction increased from 4 to 5. A bonus damage reduction increased from 4 to 5. Okay, so just like 1%, like just a lot of 1%, but if you do it all across a bunch, I mean, you know, you get maybe 5% in total, let's say. Okay, also the damage reduction got increased. So, okay, so maybe Rogue gets like, or not Rogue, the Sorceress gets like, in total, because you have about 4 to 5 glyphs, you get 4 to 5% damage reduction, 4 to 5%, you know, increased damage. Overall, again, it adds up, right? Extra life. So these are all just, they all looked at Sorcerers and were like 1%, 1%, 1%. Okay, other day it's a buff. Some of these other things got, you know, a couple more, so that's good. Legendary Serpentine, so you have additional Hydra, and its effect is increased. So the thing that, like, this was during the live campfire, I'm like, okay, well, what about the damage on Hydra? Hydra used to be, if you guys played the previous beta, it shredded content, and they just cut the damage by a lot, but the bonus burning damage got increased. So again, and remember, all of the other stats are getting increased, so it could add up, right? Sometimes you really got to play things, but in terms of numerical stuff, the Sorceress is getting like a lot of numerical changes that could improve the quality of life. So the bonus burning damage, crit strike damage, meteor and fireball, double this bonus against healthy enemies as well. Okay, so you're just going to get massive amount of crit from Fireball. So this could be kind of cool. Maybe look out for Fireball, especially with all the other changes. And there's also I think there's supposed to be unique changes in here as well. Flame Walker, so increased bonus movement speed, Ball Orbit, Orbs Rand. I think it used to do decreased damage, right? So increasing the damage is kind of cool with that. The Chain Lightning bouncing bonuses increased from 2 to 4. Okay, so each time Chain Lightning bounces, you gain mana. So this was actually one of my favorite changes over here that I saw. So this is going to be great for leveling. Yes, because it used to only work, I believe, when it bounced between you and either elites or bosses. So bonus movement speed got increased over here for the charge aspect. Bonus movement speed. So just giving you a lot of movement speed as well. Veers, increased damage. Oh, this one's actually quite big. They tripled it to close enemies. Okay, so that's awesome. Frozen Orb got damage increased. The main problem with this is it just costs too much mana, but since they buffed everything else, maybe it will hit really, really hard, and we're getting another 10% bonus here. So again, some of these, it's like 5% here in total and 5% damage reduction, but then on top of getting a 10%, it can add up. So Storm Swell, the bonus damage got increased. Snow Veil, Unstoppable Duration got increased. Also grants some extra armor, lucky hit. Damage from your Pyromancy skills got a 12 to 17% chance to restore 10 mana. Okay, that's really cool. And then while within your Blizzard and 3 seconds for after leaving it, you take less damage. Maybe just after casting it would probably be the ideal goal. Maybe that is too good, but at the end of the day, that's what people want. And that's what feels good versus, again, having to like walk in your own Blizzard to you know, why would you walk out of safety to go into safety, and then you take less damage when you can sit outside and just not take damage, unless it's of course a boss or whatever. But nonetheless, this could be kind of cool for like Blizzard when it activates on you. There's an enchantment that you can put on Blizzard where it's almost like 50% of the time you just have a Blizzard on you. It's kind of cool, but most people don't take it because it's still pretty much all of the like, what is it, the little like what is it, the very first flame one, and you run ice shards. That's kind of the meta, and they haven't buffed ice shards, so maybe things. So they're only buffing Glove of the Illuminator, so damage penalty got reduced. So this is going to be a flat buff. But this is the thing I was talking about. This where they are, if they remove the lucky hit, right? It actually not damage to stun enemies. How it's actually worded is you get a chance to stun. So this is on the Sorceress. So on the Sorceress, you have a chance to stun the enemy. If you played Sorceress, you run Aspect of Control. Aspect of Control gives you more damage. It's like, I don't know, like 53%, I believe, at the highest roll. So you have like 50. You lose 53x damage, but you have a chance to restore resource. This is a buff, and this is a nerf, right? So it's like there's a give and take, although you do gain resource, so it could be better. And also the Illuminator's first bounce and clears much closer to the player. So what would happen is you would just lose out in damage because the fireball would just bounce far away. How these work and the special power of these, because I tried them out and I was kind of disappointed. So it would bounce and it would travel, right? It would bounce and it would do more damage. But the problem is it would not overlap, so you'd actually just lose damage. So it was just terrible. So since the first bounce is much closer, I mean, if you get to almost deal, it's not necessarily double damage, it's maybe like 50% increased on the very first one, depending on, of course, your roll. roll, but you do lose out on the stun. So I don't know if these are going to be viable. They actually have like okay-ish rolls because it's crit strike chance. However, for whatever reason, the attack speed rolls slower than just a rare glove that you can upgrade. I don't know why, but that's how it works. Because I tried to make this build, and there's like another thing where you can mix it in with one of these other things. It's another two-handed. Every third cast launches additional projectiles, but this thing is still kind of mid because it does damage to close enemies, but Fireball bounces and it travels, so then it's going further away from you, which is counterproductive to the design of these two items. If it would do, I don't know, I just think they should have removed close. It should have just been like fire skills or something. I don't know, that's the way I see it. But nonetheless, we got another one. Dang, this video is a lot longer than I intended, but hey, we got to go over everything. So in terms of the sorceress, is this going to be good? I think it's going to be maybe a little bit better for sure. If this is the main thing that needs to happen, it just needs to bounce. If it just bounced in spot, like it just went up and down, it would be much better than it moving because, well, it's kind of harder to control, especially on bosses, right? However, let's go ahead and go into the Necromancer. So let's, oh, the Necromancer changes. Okay, we gotta scroll up. It opened it up over here. So, enhanced Bone Spirit, the cooldown reduction increased. Paragon board with Wither, willpower requirement for bonuses reduced. And then the bonus damage per willpower got increased. Okay, so that's a buff over there. Legendary aspect of Empower Reaper. So damage enemies with Sever has a chance to spawn a pool of blight under the target that deals some sort of damage. And it can only happen once every 3 seconds. And then the aspect of Exposed Flesh. So you have a lucky hit chance to generate 30 to 50 essence when hitting a vulnerable enemy. With the aspect of Decay, you have damage increased from 20 to 40 to 20 to 45. So 5% bonus over there. Aspect of Torment. So you get, whoa. Well, this is a huge amount. Essence regenerate increased from 20 to 30 to 170. Hold on, I gotta check out this. This is a huge number. All right, we gotta go into the calculator here. Yeah, let's go to Necromancer in here in terms of gear. I'm not sure what this rolls on. Is it an offensive? I'm guessing, is it a ring? Okay, here we go. So critical strikes with bone skills increase your essence regenerating. Wow. That's, I mean, that sounds incredibly, like, I haven't messed around with running this aspect, but just in theory, 170% is crazy levels. I think this, can you throw this on the amulet as well? Because most of the time, sometimes you can throw on amulet. Okay, so it's a ring only. Most of the resource stuff is ring only. This is cool. I like it. So I'm really excited to try this out if it's really good on Necromancer. Someone let me know if I'm, misreading this, but this says 170. That is just crazy high, especially with the new Malignant Heart that lets you do way more damage, but your resource drains. But are you going to really swap that over Barber? Probably not, but it's cool nonetheless. Hulking Aspect Legendary category got changed from Resource to Utility, okay, which rolls on Boots. So the chance for Golem to reduce its cooldown got increased, and then the chance for Golem to spawn a corpse. Greaves of the Empty Tomb, so the Intelligence affix replaced with bonus movement speed. I'm guessing Greaves are boots. So let's go to the Necromancer. So what does this do? This is the create a desecrated ground beneath your Sever. Wait, so they actually made unique boots with no movement speed. Really? I don't think I got these on my Necromancer, but these, like, in theory, in any action RPG, boots roll movement speed, unless your class has just incredible movement speed. Why did these not even roll with bases? This design decision is crazy. Unless the design decision was to root you in place, like there's some crazy stuff in other action RPGs. But why would you ever make boots with no movement speed? That's so crazy. Unless it like made you do 10 times more damage when you would hold still, when you would charge up a skill, because then it has some sort of identity. But just to have boots with no movement speed. And it removed int. What was the other thing that I had? How bad are these boots? Okay, so we have intelligence, which is actually okay. Essence cost reduction, that's actually okay. Lucky hit chance with shadow damage, maybe viable. Damage reduction from enemies that are affected by shadow damage over time. I guess that's like okay, because you can only get like damage reduction, I think, while injured on boots and the normal rolls. But to not have any movement speed is just, it's very weird in terms of a design. And we can't roll anything on the uniques. All right, so minions, the following attacks now deal reduced damage to Druid companions and Necromancer. So these these were, I guess, killing too many of the minions. So now our minions have more survivability. All right, so we went over to the entire patch over there. What do you guys think of it? It's a bunch of stuff that increases like 1 to 2%. So sorcerers might actually receive some nice changes, but I feel like the uniques, and this is the biggest thing that I personally want to change. It does not fix the game. Is the game saved? Because I know a lot of people are like, dude, this patch is supposed to save the game. Is it going to be any good when it comes out? And honestly, it's most of the stuff that they mentioned on the campfire, which I was like, okay, I don't think that's enough, but they're going to be dropping the patch notes, but the patch notes are not high enough numbers to make me super excited and wanting to, let's say like, let's say, for example, I'm still playing Diablo 4 though, but let's say I did not want to play Diablo 4 because the nerfs were just too big. Does this make me really want to come back in? Maybe if I was Sorceress, I would look at the Chain Lightning, because that actually seems kind of cool. So Chain Lightning, if I was a Sorceress player and I was playing Chain Lightning, I'd be very excited and I want to play. If I'm a Rogue player, I was kind of disappointed. Overall though, because they didn't nerf Barb, I think everyone's pretty happy, because I honestly expected that to get just absolutely just destroyed. I thought they were going to almost delete it out of its existence, but I'm glad that they didn't. If I was to be a Barb player, again, the uniques are so bad to the point where like I'm not excited. Now, Temerity with some other cool, like, build with Rogue, I'm excited about that. But for just, like, the generic Rogue player, I mean, like, buffing Invigorating Strike, because who is playing this? Every single person and their grandma is still playing Puncture, right? Unless you added some cool effect where, like, your next core skill does double the damage, I'm not playing anything but Puncture. And that's what I find very wild with this idea and core philosophy to make things more viable, okay? So, at least for me, I would say, did this patch save the game? No. At least in its current state. What I want is overall itemization changes. I'm asking probably way too much, and this video is way longer than necessary. We'll talk about this in another video, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Did this patch save the game? Let me know down below. But anyways, that's gonna wrap things up. Let me know your thoughts. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell, and I'll update you guys if there is another further update on anything Diablo related. Catch you in the next video. Take care. Peace.